Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Big Buzz Breakfast Club. My name is Melissa Legowski. I'm the founder, owner, and CEO at Big Buzz Idea Group, and we are delighted to have you with us today. Thank you to Laura from my team who's helping us manage things in the back end as well. And today we are going to talk about mastering the art of leadership. Cultivating essential meta skills for success. I think meta skills is a word that has been popping up more and more, but a lot of people don't fully understand what that is. And so we are very excited to be able to talk about it today and just be able to learn more and share. And it's going to be a very interactive session today, which I'm excited about. A couple of housekeeping items. We are recording this session and it will be shared with you in an event email that we send out following this morning. Please do put, I guess any questions today will go directly into the chat. We are doing the format of this a little bit differently than what we usually do. So feel free to just put everything in the chat so we've got it all in one place today. And then if you want to adjust your closed captioning, please feel free to do so. It is a button at the bottom of the screen. And we certainly want everyone to be able to adjust that as needed. For those of you who don't know about Big Buzz Idea Group, I would like to just share a little bit of information. But we know here that many nonprofit executives lack the time, staff, skills, and funding that they need. And so Big Buzz Idea Group fills in management, marketing, and event gaps so that organizations can really focus on the big picture of their mission and help their organization to thrive. We do these breakfast clubs on a monthly basis in an effort to just continue to bring valuable information to leaders in this sector to allow organizations in the nonprofit space to continue to also function more like businesses, because at the end of the day, that is how we create sustainability for all of the folks in the industry. Today, we are excited to have Marcy Fortenow with us from Engaging Play. She is not a stranger to the Big Buzz Breakfast Club. She is a return participant. She always has a lot of really great things that she's working on at her company, Engaging Play. And so we are excited to have her today to help us understand more about Metaskills. And with that, I will turn it over to you, Marcy.
Thank you. Thank you. And so good to be here with all of you. Thank you. Everybody's got their coffee. Thank you for having your cameras on. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and it'll be up and down with that. But it is a new topic. I'm glad to hear you've been seeing it pop up now and then. And there's a lot of different definitions and information about it. I don't think it's fully congealed. So I'm going to attempt that today. Really excited to be with you all. Love working with Melissa and nonprofit associations. So I'm just going to start us off by a really interesting quote by Alvin Toffler. He was an American writer and a futurist. One of the world's most outstanding futurists, actually. And he said that the illiterate of the 21st century will not be those who cannot read and write, but those who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn. Now consider that for a minute, right? That's exactly why we're talking about meta skills today, because in today's fast-paced world, it isn't enough to learn distinct tools and specific ideas and methodologies. Leaders have to be ready to be continually learning, unlearning, and relearning, opening up new ways of adapting and operating, because it is a fast-changing world. Am I right? I'm sure everybody feels that way. Now, in the spirit of meta skills, just going to warn you all, really, we're also considering energy, right? What is the energy that we bring? Because meta skills is involved with energy. And as part of that, I wanted to check in with you all. Enjoy my squirrel scale for a minute. What energy, according to this squirrel scale, are you bringing today? What are you bringing in this morning? So what I also want to involve you with a Zoom skill. Look for your annotate button. So it looks like a little pen, and sometimes it actually says annotate. It could be at the top, it could be at the bottom. Sometimes you need to just move your cursor around to find it. Go ahead and try to locate it. I hope that you can. And annotate, that means put a little mark, check mark, a squiggle right next to the squirrel that sort of symbolizes the energy that you're bringing into this space, this Zoom room today. So nice annotation. I like to see people can use these tools, right? Right. That would be a regular skill. And then we've got Metaskills. Okay. Good. All right. Would anybody like to share why they picked the one that they did? Just to speak up about how you're doing today, how you're coming into the space. Hey, Melissa, you said you were pretty, what were you, 5? Go ahead and unmute.
I actually I don't feel quite that low energy. I'm a little bit more on the 3. So yesterday was a travel day for me as I've just had 2 back-to-back conferences that I've been out of town for. So I'm just feeling a little sleepy, but the coffee's helping.
Okay. All right. All right. And 3 means what?
I a little tired is what I saw the squirrel as
Ah.
yawning.
Oh, yawning. Sometimes it's and excited. Anybody else want to share? Just so we can get a tap into the energy in our Zoom room. Yeah, Michelle. Hey, Michelle.
Hey, Marcy. Yeah, I'm elated. I'm gonna eat like number 9. Got a job offer.
Oh, great. You got a job offer. Oh, yeah. Yeah, awesome. Awesome. So you're feeling full. That's terrific. That's terrific. Thanks. Thanks for sharing. So why did I do this kind of check-in? Not only because I like squirrels a lot, but it's to bring our attention to the fact that whenever you come into a space, you bring a mood, you bring an energy, you bring a feeling with you. All right. And that energy that you bring is a significant part of what we're going to talk about today, which is meta skills. I'm going to take down the squirrels because otherwise it'll just be too entertaining and you won't listen for a minute. So, am I right though? Seriously. Okay. So I want to tell you a story about my not being aware and intentional about energy that I was bringing to a situation. I design and facilitate team building, decision-making workshops, problem-solving workshops, strategy meetings, and a lot of retreats. So not long ago, I have an association client, and we were doing an all-hands gathering here in Chicago. And we did this timeline activity, if you've ever done that. It was a way of talking about the organization, sharing stories, understanding impactful events, and also getting the new people kind of up to speed on what the organization was about and how it became what it is. So it was a really nice activity, sort of in the beginning of the day. Not until the end of the day did one of the department heads come up to me. It was the end of the day, and she had tears in her eyes. And she was really upset because the timeline was missing her department and that she was really feeling unseen and unappreciated. And it was something that she and her department were struggling with. And so she's tears in her eyes, and all I do is I challenge her. I'm like, well, then why didn't you put it on the timeline? Right? That was my response. Why didn't you? I challenged her. I kind of blamed her, right? And I I wouldn't say I wasn't curious. I didn't show empathy. I'd say I'm at here. Let me just pull back my squirrels. I was probably being number 1, I'd say. One? Yeah. Um, you know, now I'll tell you that I knew that that exchange was not productive or helpful, and it didn't feel good. And it haunts me to this day because I'm even telling you the story. That's how clear it is in my memory. But I really couldn't figure out why. Right? I couldn't figure out what had happened with that. And of course it's after the fact. Recently, I'm taking I'm taking classes in organizational relationship systems coaching, ORSC. And it was there that I first heard about Metaskills, and I thought more about the impact of what I had brought to that conversation. So that's that it was really when I heard about that that I realized, hey, this is important, right? The energy you bring into a space, especially as a leader, matters more than anything else. And I had a lot of influence in that situation to help or to not help. And by not having a clear meta skill to call on to help me work with this client, I messed up. So I'm going to teach you about meta skills today. And my hope is that you'll be able to choose to have a better outcome. And by the way, that's what I do, right? I work with leaders and teams through coaching and training and team development workshops to help them get better connected, communicate, and collaborate so they can get more done. Now, that's what we're going to be covering today. What energy, intention, meta skill you bring to your leadership, why it's important, the impact it has, and we're going to explore which meta skills might come naturally to you, which might present a challenge, and of course, what we can do to get better at using them. And you are in the right place if you are an association leader looking to improve your self-awareness and utilizing meta skills. If you are a leader hoping to explore meta skills and their power and impact in your leadership journey. If you're interested in finding a way to raise the level of your leadership with your team and your organization, or if you're a leader hoping to develop a growth plan to improve and increase your meta skills as you evolve as a leader. Okay, it's a very big topic. I'm going to give you everything I can for the next, 45 minutes? But don't worry, in the end, I won't leave you hanging. I'm going to be sharing a resource with you and also an opportunity to continue the conversation. All right, let's get to it. We're going to first try to define meta skills. And as I said, I came upon this concept first through ORSC, Organization and Relationship Systems Coaching class, working for my certification in team coaching the last 2 years. And they define meta skills as an attitude, as a stance or philosophy, like a come from, a place from which you operate. It is the energy and intention you're bringing into a situation. Think of meta skills as perfume, right? I don't know if we have any people, are using perfume, but you choose the perfume, the scent you want, you put it on, and then when you come into a room, right, it permeates. It's something that impacts the space that you're in. So think of it like that. And it's also, at the same time, a higher order skill that allows you to engage with the functional expertise that you need. And it's a catalyst for learning and building new skills faster and being able to apply them better. Because as leaders, we're called upon to manage our own energy, to use our energy to create a positive and productive work environment, and to raise awareness of energy in the room. Think of functional skills as temporary, specific, right? We can learn to do something. Meta skills are permanent and they're able to be generalized. A gentleman named Tobias Beckwith, in his book, The Wizard's Way, says that regular skills are activities people must have in order to perform well at a particular task. Meta skills are the skills behind the skills. They're the expertise that makes individual skills more effective and makes acquisition of new skills faster and easier. So I actually screen share again. We will move beyond the squirrels. I know you're all going to miss them. This is my definition, I think, and I hope you're getting the idea. A meta skill is a high order skill, right? It's the intention and energy that you use to activate other skills and abilities and outcomes. So it goes beyond technical knowledge or specific task-oriented skills, and we're going to focus on those broader, more dynamic capabilities. And it's hugely important in today's world, right? In the fast-paced, changing world. Anything you learn is obsolete very quickly. So having the pulse of these higher level skills will help you adapt, help you adapt to new challenges, to innovate new solutions, and work better with others. So let me tell you about a client of mine. We'll call him Jeff. He was having a rough time because there were big priority changes happening in his organization. And in fact, there was a reorg on the horizon. Lots of rumbling about that. And if you've ever been through a reorganization, you know that that's rough, right? That's stressful and uncomfortable. And Jeff and his team were not having a great time with that. And as always, there was lack of direction and communication from the top. And that made it even more frustrating. So when Jeff and I met, I reminded that one of his meta skills was adapting. He's great at adapting. Every time he needed to adjust his team's strategy because of change in new products, new initiatives, new people, he would shift so easily. Adapting was one of his strengths, one of his meta skills. So we discussed ways that he could employ that, right? Bring that in, bring that stance, that energy, that high level skill to his advantage in this situation. So he pulled it forward and was able to work better in that ambiguity until the situation settled down and the reorganization played out. And his adaptability made it possible for his team to shift too, instead of being caught up in a negative tailspin. And when the organization's priorities finally, the dust settled and things became clear, it was his team that was most able to move forward. So let me show you this really nice meta skill wheel that I think applies to leadership capabilities of today. I chose this particular set of meta skills, and there's a million meta skills. I have a slide somewhere in here that lists them. It's a bad slide because there's 3,000 words on it. But lots of meta skills out there, but I think that we're just going to start with these. And these are really tied to EQ, emotional intelligence, which I think are, really important for leaders today. So we're going to start here. So the first thing we're going to do is activate this wheel, get some meaning and feeling around it. So as you look at it, I'm going to ask some questions, and you can just take yourself off mute, or actually put it in the chat. Which ones are important for the work you do, for your work? Go ahead and put in the chat which ones are important for your work. All creativity, yeah, but communicating, excellent. Focus, good. Integrity, Excellent. Collaborating, integrity, critical thinking, leading, communicating. Beautiful, Shannon. Integrity. Yeah. Communicating. Good. So maybe Sam, do you mind please define curiosity for me? You noted that. Curiosity. How would you define curiosity? And what challenge does it help you with? No? All
Can you
right.
hear me?
Yes. I just thought
Oh,
I'd
okay.
call. I hope it's okay that I call on
No,
people.
no, it's fine. I was trying to talk and I wasn't sure if you could hear me. All my coworkers would probably tell you that I ask a few questions. I'm very curious. I actually ask a lot of questions all the time. And I just like to really know a whole picture when I'm planning something. So I do the events. So I
Mm,
will ask so many questions because I'm very curious about, do you have this? How does this work? What do you do this way? How do you manage this? So for me, and finding out what people want for their event, venues, it's just collecting a lot of
okay. Thank you. Thank you. And Celia, would you mind jumping in? You put collaborating. What does that mean, and why is it important to like, what challenges does it help you solve? Collaborating. If you can take yourself off mute. I'm just looking at the chat, so I can't always see you guys. Hey, Eleanor, you want to jump in with integrity? What does
Hold on here.
integrity mean, Eleanor?
All right. So
Nice
I
to
guess
see
I still qualify as nonprofit, I think, but I'm not sure. Anyways, I've done a lot of nonprofit work, so I'm glad to be here. And thank you everybody for what you do for your communities. So right now I'm currently a volunteer mayor. So I put the integrity thing down because I came into a organization that had a lot of problems financially and trust-wise and lack of transparency. So I had to lead. I felt I had to lead intuitively with the integrity, but I think I also put down for you initiative because I had to figure out what was going on and I had to adapt. And then I think I forgot to put collaboration. So by the time I figured all that out, to me, to go forward, you have to have a collaborative process to solve a problem. You have to get the team to work. So I guess that would be my answer or part of my answer.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, thank you. Thank you. And let's just do one more. We're just activating this wheel. Shay, wait, Shay, I saw focus on yours.
So I do bookkeeping. So focus for me is more of like detail too.
Mm,
So you got to be, focused, make sure numbers are right, and integrity as well as, you have to be upfront and not do anything bad.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, so think about how to define these and what challenges they help you with.
Marcy, I have a quick question.
Yeah, absolutely.
As you talked about kind of as you talked about Jeff, and
Mhm.
Jeff had that adaptability as one of his,
Yes.
core initiatives. And as we listened kind of to, I think it was Eleanor's specific situation, do you
Mhm.
find that these can be situational at all? Or are you going to lead us to a point where we do have a little bit more kind of rooted in us as individuals?
Yeah, no, these are coming from you and they're applied to the situation. Does that make sense?
It
This
absolutely
is
does.
this is and you're right. I will describe what the process is to do that, to figure out. But first it's what do you pull forward, right? These are your These are possible skills, meta skills that you have, and you're called upon to use them in your work. So that really does lead me to the next question, which is, which ones are you good at? So go ahead and pull that annotation tool from Zoom again, if you would. And go ahead. What I want you to do is use the star stamp, find the star stamp, and I want you to put that by your strongest meta skill, the one that is your superpower. And you can have more than one, it's okay. It's okay. So go ahead and put a star stamp with your annotate button next to the meta skill that you're really good at. You're really strong for you. I like that. Draw it. That's very creative, you see. Nice. Wow. Quite a variety, right? Now, which one or ones are a challenge for you? Go ahead and use a heart stamp next to the ones that are not so strong for you. Not so strong. You guys are going to be annotating all over other people's slides from now on. You're going to be like, let me draw on them. Even without permission, you can use this. I've just unleashed you to the world. If you're, that's interesting. Yeah, it's interesting to think about, right? Like, what's my real strengths? What am I not so strong at? And now, if you would, if you find that you're curious, go ahead and use the check mark next to any ones that you're curious about. Just good to know that, if you're curious about any of them, use that check mark. Like, what is that? And maybe I'd like to explore that in myself a little bit. Some people are really good at these naturally. Comes natural to them. It feels very easy, maybe. And some meta skills are more challenging. And I was actually talking with someone and we had this discussion about where do these superpowers come from, right? Why, how do I have these? Is it nature or is it nurture? Are you born with it or are they taught? So in that discussion, I would say that it's both. And you can adjust that. You have power to build this muscle more. So nature, maybe if you had a family for which integrity was not something that came naturally, you had a role model in your life that did not have integrity, that might be hard. If you were in a military family, right? You might have not been able to develop some areas, but sense making and critical thinking, right, were very high. That's nature. If you struggle with neurodiversity, you're on the spectrum, maybe feeling is more challenging, or you have ADHD, maybe focusing is more challenging. That's an example of nature, right? That's something you're just born with that's easy. My colleague who facilitates strategy sessions, workshops, it's her superpower is sense making. This is the person I had the conversation with. And she is completely in awe of my creativity skills that I bring, right? Because I use play in my facilitation. So, what do you guys think? Where did your meta skills or your superpowers come from? And anybody can unmute, and I'll just take a couple if anybody would like to share. Where do you think it came from?
I'll jump in, Marcy.
Yeah.
I think it's very interesting because I think some of this goes back to your learn, unlearn, relearn quote that you touched on at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
And I do think that so much of it does kind of come from how we grew up. And I know, for me, for a variety of reasons, communication was not a skill set that I learned in the home the way in as positive of a way. It wasn't a problem, but there was a lot of silent treatments. There was a lot of like shutdowns, and that doesn't move people forward. And so I think sometimes being able to kind of know that I wanted to do better than that,
Mm-hmm.
and especially the roles I've been in and the situations, right? I needed to be better at that. So I know communication is something that I continue to think is central to all projects, all relationships. And I think it takes a lot of intentionality and effort. And I've worked to change my path on that one in particular.
Nice, nice, really nice way to think about it. Thanks, Melissa. Eleanor, did you want to add?
Oh, geez, I want to put a star there. Sorry about that, guys. Well, whatever. I'll figure that out later. I was, obviously this is all new. I'm thrilled with the topic, so thank you for talking about it today. I was going to share, there's a book called, and I think it's called The Birth Order. It's a phenomenal book. I read it years ago. I forget who the author is. I apologize for that. But if truth be known, I'm a classic firstborn.
Mm.
And so I think coming out of the gate, and shame on me for saying this, but based on the book, so I'm sure there's a larger universe to research. I felt I came out with the leading and the initiative side. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And so if truth be known, maybe middleborns are better on adapting because I think I married a middleborn. But the point is, I think over the time I've had to learn to pull that back. And I feel like for whatever reason, as a classic born, or maybe in my family, even though I had a great family, I was kind of like the one that was always solving the problems or helping out or taking the leadership if there was a small crisis or something. So I have to pull myself back because I think it's too innate. And sometimes in a situation, I think it can be overpowering for others. So that's why, doesn't mean I don't use it, but I'm more conscious of it and monitoring it and working on some of these other areas that maybe I didn't come out of the gate with. If that
Yeah,
helps.
yeah. No, that's perfect. Um, yeah, I think your comment about birth order is really interesting. I think generational impact is really interesting. Like what's the younger generation doing as they're coming in and what's important to them? Um, there's a lot of factors that can influence um, which ones you're using, even the circumstances Melissa was kind of alluding to earlier, right? The ones you're good at, you might use more often. The ones that challenge you, you might not use as often. Um, and I hear the folks that did speak up there, they're working on them, right? Like because their situations require it. I'll tell you, the more meta skills you have in your toolkit, the better leader you will be, hands down. And as I said, there's lots of meta skills out there, but I really love this wheel and I wanted you guys to have a copy of it. So I actually, here, wait, let me clear the annotations because they will follow. There we go.
Can you
There-
share a little bit more about sense making? Because I noticed a lot
Yeah.
of us checked it. And I'm just
Oh.
kind of curious.
Yeah.
I think many of us are curious a little
So
bit more about what that
actually,
means.
I would ask somebody who thought who checked to set, they were curious about it. Who did anybody? I of course just raised this. Did anybody say that was one of their meta skills, sense making? I-
did.
You did? I'd like you to define it if you would.
Well, my interpretation of it is that you have a way of seeing a situation and seeing the path that is most logical. So I feel like I have a strong suit in that when I'm looking at a problem or something that needs to be addressed, I find the fast path or the path that makes the most sense to get to the solution.
Yeah. Well done. Well done. Thank you, Shannon. That's a great definition of sense making. I think of it very similarly. How to extrapolate meaning, strategic thinking. Yeah, that's that, pulling the meaning out of something. But the way that you define these is up to you. That's what actually what I want to do is I put that that wheel on a document with all the definition, the official definitions. I think what's important is how you define it, of course. That's how we activate the wheel as we get you to define it. But I have official. So if you'd like to get that, I wanted to give that to you. I thought people need this wheel. And I'm going to go ahead and also put the link in the chat.
While you do that, Marcy, there
Yeah.
is a question. Could
Yeah.
sense making be related to intuition?
Yeah, quite possibly. Quite possibly. Yeah, that's a really nice point. Okay. So we've looked at this wheel. I want to share about how to activate the right meta skill for the situation. Okay. Especially since, as I mentioned, it is possible to get it wrong in my story about the timeline. Actually, when you think about getting it wrong, maybe you have all experienced that at some time, right? In a meeting, in an important discussion, in a feedback session, and when you're delegating something, you bringing an energy that doesn't fit. For example, being jovial when something serious is going on, not creating a calm and focused space when people are coming from other meetings, giving feedback when you yourself are feeling stressed, right? That can happen. But what I want to do is talk about how you can use them correctly, how you can step ahead. And I actually have a 3-step process for activating meta skills, for picking the right meta skill at the right situation. Okay, the first one is awareness, being aware of the situation and being aware of yourself. We're going to go into each of these a little bit deeper. Identifying which meta skill is really needed in that situation. And then, of course, using it. Like, what do you actually do with it? So let's start with awareness, right? Awareness. What does the situation need? Is something required here? What is the energy that would help? So I would say the way to improve your awareness is to step out of the situation, take a deep breath, if possible, step out of the situation and observe it, become the observer. A lot of folks who maybe practice mindfulness techniques will understand that becoming the observer is the way to really to be able to then choose what kind of energy you want to bring. So what is the situation that you're in and what is required? If I had been a little aware, I might have noticed, I might have been able to bring a different outcome. Oh, I wrote "and yourself" because I think you also have to say, where am I? Am I tired? Is it the end of the day? Am I hungry? Am I angry? right? That's an important element in the scenario as well. So imagine that you you're about to have a difficult conversation with someone, a challenging conversation. You might ask, what is the situation like? How am I feeling? Right? Let's say somebody is not performing and on your team and you have to actually address it, right? That's a challenging conversation. What's the scenario? Who is this person? Where are we going to be? What is the situation? And how am I feeling? That's the first step. The next step is identification. What meta skill would be the best one in this situation? And this, I'm put this up because there is a model called Be Do Have. And it starts with, how do I want to be? And it's a great question to ask when choosing which meta skill would be best applied. So how do I want to be? When you know how you want to be, then you know better what to do if you're being that, and then what you'll have as a result. So again, if you're about to have that difficult conversation where you're giving some feedback to a team member, let's just pull that scenario through. How might you want to be in that situation? So let's look again at the meta skill wheel. How might you want to be in that situation? You might want to be calm. You might want to be curious. You might want to be collaborative in finding solutions, right? You might want to be focused. You want to really kind of zone in on this person and not be distracted, right? How do you want to be? And that's a great way to select which meta skill to pull forward and identify and intentionally use. And then how will you use it, right? It's one thing to know, it's another thing to do, right? Knowing is not necessarily doing. So if you're being curious, what will you do? How will you really use it? Asking questions, right? If you're bringing forward communicating, what does that mean? Well, I'm going to listen and I'm going to exchange information and be honest and open with them. So let's think about these in terms of my timeline incident. If I had been aware, I would have noticed that she had tears in her eyes, right? And that she was feeling really sad and distressed, and that she was really speaking about herself and her team, right? I would have felt the need. What meta skill might I have identified as useful in that situation? Anybody? You can just unmute and say so.
Feeling.
Mm-hmm. Maybe feeling, yeah. Maybe sense making. Adapting, because it was like the end of the day. Like we were done. Also, by the way, I had to be aware that I was tired. I was, I've been facilitating all day with a large group. Right? That put me a little bit behind. If I had noticed that and been conscious of that. And then what use could I have done if I was feeling? What might I have done if I was feeling? How
I
could
guess
I?
validate the feeling. Start with that. Validate. She's crying. I see that you're crying. How can I help?
Yeah, I see this is difficult for you, right? Validate. I can see that this is challenging and that this has upset you. Yeah, and feel with that. Um, I was thinking that I might have, in showing some initiative, I might have just walked over to the timeline and added her department, or had her add her department. It didn't matter that everybody was gone. She was still there, right? That might have mattered. That might have really mattered. So I could have taken initiative since she didn't and applied that and shared that with her. So let's take some real life examples if we could, just for just a minute or so. Anybody have some? Have one?
I'd like to open it up to the floor, but I do have one we can use, Marcy, if nobody raises their
Yeah.
hand or is comfortable bringing the situation.
Well, go ahead, Melissa. I don't see any hands up.
I think, as we know in the nonprofit space, right, we work with a lot of different people. And I think part of the the importance of bringing this conversation to these leaders is because on a regular basis, we can deal with a lot of people from a lot of perspectives in any one day. And I pride myself on being a fairly versatile human and able to adapt pretty well to what the situation needs or what the person needs. But I have found that there is one particular person, we'll call her Susie, who challenges me. I'm not always a very patient person. I like to go, 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 keep things moving. We've got deadlines. We've got to, get to the big picture. And she requires a lot of extra effort and a lot of extra communication. And I have to be incredibly self-aware that I have to show up very differently than what my natural tendency is. Because I could be dismissive, I could be hurtful. Like there's so many bad things that would happen. And so I really do try to show up more with curiosity and openness and just a little bit more understanding, trying to put myself in her shoes to understand her perspective. And it's incredibly hard, but I find that I've had to really show up very differently. And that self-awareness piece that you alluded to here made all the difference in the world.
Nice, nice. You took a beat. You said, what does this person need? How can I really create a really good outcome instead of fighting? Yeah. So you really upped your awareness. You identified that patience, which is definitely a meta skill. You said you had to use communicating, collaboration, it sounds like, and then you're able to maybe curiosity, right? I heard those things. You can jump in and correct me. And then the doing is to actually ask questions, take it a little bit different pace than feels natural. Involve her in the outcomes. Yeah. Anything else? Thank you.
I've been trying to really figure out how best to communicate too, because there's a certain time frame that I'm going to have to work with this individual for, and it's not proving any easier no matter how we try. It is a difficult fit, and many people feel it, but we are trying to also disseminate and diffuse some of the communication in a way that no one person is overly burdened either. We can kind of divide and all try different explanations, right? Because people hear things differently, receive things differently. So the communication side of it has been hugely impactful too. And I don't know that I properly mentioned that on the front end.
Awareness and practice makes all the difference. So, and if you're not good at something, I think, Melissa, you've helped us kind of bring that up. If you're not necessarily naturally good at something, these 3 steps still apply, right? They still apply. But in addition, you need to study it, right? So if communicating in that level is challenging for you, You need to study it, right? Like learn about it. What are the actual skills around communication that I can use? That's number one. Number two is look for it in others, right? Be able to identify it in others. It's a huge lift. And when you can see it in others, you can model it. You can try it out, right? And then number three is practice it. Fake it till you make it, right? Work it till it's part of you, till it is one of your strengths, right? And that's not that those three things aren't challenging, and more challenging if this isn't, a skill that you're good at. But that's how you can get better, and you need to get better. Again, awareness and practice is everything. Simple, but not easy, right? Simple,
Well,
but
and
not
then
easy.
how would you apply this too, right? In teams, I think this becomes incredibly beautiful because you also, if people are self-identifying,
Mm-hmm.
and then you can start to kind of see where you might feel weaker and others appear stronger. And then there's that ability too to kind of like learn from the people who are stronger in some of those other skills to help you apply it. So I really feel like it could be a collective
It
training.
absolutely is. And I actually have, Melissa, I do this with teams, and we activate the wheel very differently. We get into groups and we define it. We do an action, a physical action around it. What is the movement? So we actually change channels a little that goes with that particular meta skill, and you share those with the group. Yeah, no, you're right. You're right. It's very powerful. Also, I'll say that the things that I've put in my meta skill wheel change and are different. You could put the values of your organization into a wheel. You could put anything that you are working on with a group into that wheel and let people self-identify, define, um, and talk about. So, yeah. Um, Simple, but not easy. Michelle, do you have a quick one? I'm watching the clock.
Yeah, I just wanted to know how children seem to know this sort of thing intuitively, like they know how to communicate
Children.
differently to people, but depending on who the person is, they seem to know that intuitively.
Yeah, yeah. Nature, nurture. Yeah, some of those things get beaten out of you as a kid or get repressed, right? Don't be that creative. Don't be that. I think before 6, when you learn to stop doing, stop being, it's a bit of a challenge.
I
Okay.
think it's a really, really beautiful thing that, like schools around us have really focused more on that growth mindset. And I feel like,
Mm,
the whole, that opens up a pathway that I also think continues, hopefully, right, to keep those skills active and alive. I know I myself grew up in a time when, it was a lot more about a fixed mindset. We were taught different things. We were, expected to fall in line in different ways. So I think that this growth mindset awareness that even goes into the school systems, I really do hope it continues to allow children to follow more naturally on their own paths.
yeah, yeah. Instead of fighting with
Yeah.
who they really are. Yeah. Lots of, yeah, don't get me going down that path. Okay. That's a big one. That's a big one. Big can. Okay. Now, even extraordinary adaptive leaders do not have every capability. And it's not always easy to take a deep breath and choose what meta skill to bring forward or to have the skill to even be able to utilize it, right? Buttons get pushed, circumstances conspire, right? Things get in the way and derail our abilities. So how does someone develop these? Exercising awareness and practicing. It's knowing your strengths, acknowledging your challenges, and practicing activating the right meta skills at the right time. But here's what I found. People are not always aware of how to utilize and develop their meta skills. And I know for a fact that when strengthening your meta skills, everything changes. It's the secret to being a strong and impactful leader in today's fast-paced, changing world. So what would it be like if you could call on your superpowers more easily at the right time in the right place? How would it affect your relationships and your effectiveness and your influence? How might growing your meta skills make learning other skills easier? The common mistake people make is thinking that they can figure it out by themselves. So you're all intelligent, accomplished people, no question about it. However, the truth is that all highly successful people, athletes and executives, have mentors to help see what they can't. So I'd like to offer everyone who's attended a 30-minute complimentary discovery session. Let me get to that slide. Look at this. These are more meta skills. See, this is the slide you're never supposed to show. Okay, here we go. It is a free discovery call with me. Help you identify in this call, 30 minutes, I'd help you identify where your leadership challenges are, help you get clear on your meta skills and how to use them to improve your leadership in your association challenges, and just to discuss how you can be a more empowered leader. As I said, it's a 30-minute Zoom call where we discuss your specific situation, your unique challenges, and generate solutions. And the reason I'm offering this is because I appreciate that each of you have unique abilities and challenges, and it's my passion to help leaders and teams improve their skills so they can connect better, communicate, and collaborate so they can get more done. I can throw the link also in the chat. Let me do that.
Marcy, on behalf of everybody here at Big Buzz Idea Group and all of our guests this morning, I just want to send such a sincere thank you for this session today. So much good information, so many great tools, and the gift to be able to do the one-on-one session with you is such a beautiful gift. So thank you for supporting this association and nonprofit space. And thank you very much for being with us today.
Thank you. Thank you. What I want you to know is that I want you to improve your effectiveness as a leader, utilizing meta skills with more awareness and intention. And my hope is that you use your amazing meta skills and superpowers to grow your leadership and your influence in all the situations you encounter. So thank you so much.
Thank you all for starting your day with us today. We hope you have a great one.
Thank you.